Career. This is the third installation of the Tiger Professional Development Certificate for the summer of 2025. Hopefully, you've had a good experience so far. Don't worry about grading. You will get credit for all the work that you're doing. I'm a little bit behind on grading because I've had other things on my plate, but as long as you're doing the assignments, you will get full credit. If anybody has any questions about the Tiger Professional Development Certificate, you can drop them in the question box and Judah will help us address them at the end. Let me introduce myself. My name is Maggie Erickson. I'm the Assistant Director of in the Career Center of Career Development and also the founder of the Career Innovation Lab. And I am co-hosting today with one of our interns, Ava.
Hi, my name is Ava. I'm a senior econ student and I'm one of Maggie's interns here at the Career Innovation Lab.
And then we have Judah taking care of the chat and letting people in from the waiting room. And so just a warm welcome and thank you to Judah, our other interns who are here, and everybody who's joining us. So let's get started. Today, we're going to talk briefly about your online presence and then dive a little bit deeper into LinkedIn. And I just want to remind everybody that these webinars are meant to be an overview of the topics that we're covering. If you want to go into more detail, we are available for appointments and drop-ins, both virtually and in person. So let's get started talking about your online presence in LinkedIn. First thing you can do is scan the QR code. If you will please enter your Clemson email address, you'll get a copy of this presentation, or I will upload a copy of the presentation to Canvas if you're part of the Professional Development Certificate Program. And then we'll also include any Career Center resources referenced. So thank you again for being here. If you missed this slide, we'll have it again at the end. So our mission, and we talk about this every single time because I think it's very important, our job is to engage students in career development and experiential learning opportunities that will help you be successful as you go out into the world of work or continued studies. That's what we're about at the Center for Career and Professional Development. And we are also committed to inclusivity, meaning that everyone who is a Clemson University student or faculty or staff has a seat at our table. We don't discriminate. We are actually excited to meet people from different perspectives and backgrounds. No matter who you are, where you come from, you are welcome in the Career Center. And also, just a reminder, and we talk about this each time too, because they're so important. Everything that we do here at the Center for Career and Professional Development hinges on something called core competencies or transferable skills. And these are 6 competencies that through Clemson University's research with NACE, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, we identified 9 core areas that will help you be very well prepared for the world of work. So in addition to your degree, these are skills that you should be developing while you're here at Clemson. And you can develop these skills through paid work, through internships, through professional internships, through cooperative education. But you can also develop these skills as you work on teams for group projects, or as you serve in your fraternity or sorority, or as you volunteer at the local animal shelter. They're called core competencies and transferable skills because it doesn't matter where you gain the skills, they will transfer from job to job. So we want to teach you how to communicate these really, really well. We're good at teaching people how to communicate these. So if you need some help, reach out to us for sure. But everything we do centers around core competencies. So today we're going to talk about LinkedIn specifically. And so the question, why does LinkedIn matter? Well, I'm going to ask you all to do a little participation. What percentage of positions do you think are filled through connections? So not just randomly applying online and sending your resume in without any kind of personal connection. What percentage of positions are filled through personal or social media connections. Drop it in the chat, and then Judah is going to let us know what we're seeing. Give me a percentage of jobs you think are filled through connections.
I'm seeing 90,
Ooh.
75%, 40%, 80, another 70%.
Okay. You guys are actually really, some of you hit it, nailed it. It's actually 80%. So 80% of positions are filled through connections, which means that being connected online is incredibly important. It's good to be connected here in person in school, but LinkedIn is a tremendous resource for you to start developing connections that could lead to employment when you graduate.
Yeah, so what is personal brand? Personal brand is a unique combination of your values, experiences, skills, and personality that you intentionally present to the world. It's also how others perceive you and what you're known for. It's basically when you're not in the room, how other people would describe you. So, why does personal branding matter? It helps you stand out in a competitive market, develop self-awareness and goals, and promote your achievements. When your brand aligns with who you are, you will feel more self-aware as well with personal branding. So for employer statistics, we have some fun stats here for you guys. So 60%, 7% use social media sites to research candidates. 21% of employers are not likely to consider a candidate without a social media presence. So that could be LinkedIn, Instagram, something like that, but most likely LinkedIn. 54% ruled out a candidate due to something they don't agree with on their social media platform. So this could be polarizing posts, something that's controversial. And then 84% of employers of organizations are recruiting via social media. And finally, 70% of managers report success in hiring through social media.
And I just want to share personally, before I came to Clemson, I was in industry for quite a few years. I'm a retired banker, and I searched the online history of every single candidate that I considered interviewing. And all of these statistics line up with the work that I did and really my sentiment as well. If people were posting polarizing or offensive material, I didn't even interview them. So it's really important to be mindful of what your online presence and personal brand are like.
Yep. So for your online presence, here's what you should do. You want to maintain consistency across platforms. You want to stay true to your values and goals. You want to engage thoughtfully and positively. So again, this means really thinking before you write, before you post anything, and then post a professional image. So this means you want it to be very like work, very professional, what you're posting. Finally, and then seek feedback, and finally assess regularly. So make sure you are constantly checking your digital footprint, your online presence, just making sure that everything is how it should be. And then what not to do for your online presence. So we really want to avoid insensitive content. So anything inappropriate, maybe if it's hard to see, if you don't think it's good for some audiences, it probably shouldn't be posted. Then we have making polarizing posts. So again, this is controversial posts that some people could not agree with. You don't really want to be not invited to an interview just because of something you posted online about an opinion that could change. And then you also want to avoid drugs and alcohol. Again, it's just a bad look for employers if they see that, and it's not professional. And then you want to avoid meaningless connections, or just connecting with anyone on LinkedIn that kind of just reaches out, because you might see something and you're like, I don't even know who that is. And later on, you might not be able to connect with them in a meaningful way. And then you want to avoid spending too much time on social media. Again, comparison, they say, is the root of all evil. So avoid social media as much as possible. And then finally, avoid oversharing personal information. So when we say oversharing, we mean like address, email, phone number, of course, social security number, anything like that. You want to avoid putting out there for everyone to get in contact with you or to see you, because it could be dangerous.
And you also want to avoid oversharing just personal sentiments or personal information about yourself that could make others uncomfortable. LinkedIn really is a professional space meant for professional interactions. So, protecting your brand is really up to you. And so you can Google your name and see what's out there about you. You can untag yourself or delete inappropriate pictures. You can check privacy settings. It's not foolproof that your privacy settings will keep others from seeing what you've posted, because if you had a public setting, say on Instagram or Facebook, probably many of you have never even been on Facebook at this point, but if you at one point had a public setting and others commented, that means that that photo or that post is available for others to see really forever. But you do want to check your privacy settings and make sure that you're not allowing everyone to see everything that you post all the time. And then you can delete old social media accounts. That certainly doesn't delete that content off the internet, but that at least takes out of quick search information that is outdated or doesn't reflect who you are today. Listen, we all were young once. All were in junior high or high school, and maybe we didn't use the best judgment when we were posting online. But that's not who you are today, and that's not who you always have to be. And part of protecting your brand is cleaning up things that no longer align with your values. And so now would be a great time for you to do a quick inventory. Is what I've put out on social media reflective of who I am today and who I want to be in the future? And then again, review your social media content often just to make sure that you're not doing anything that would put people off. We're not saying you can't be who you are online, but you don't have to tell everyone everything online. So, LinkedIn is your professional network. It is an incredible tool to network with other professionals, to get connected with Clemson University alumni and current students. And it's an incredible opportunity for you to start paving the way for that 80% of people who find employment are finding it through connections. So, you want to make sure you have a professional image for your career development. You can use LinkedIn for networking, job searching, keeping up with industry news. It really can be your digital resume. Many recruiters use LinkedIn to search for candidates. It allows for more detail. So last week when we talked about resumes, we said very often you should stick to a single page, but maybe you have more information that is really relevant to what you're doing now. You can add all of that information on LinkedIn. There's no limitation to the information that you can put there. And so it gives employers a broader picture of who you are. And then it's free. There are paid versions of LinkedIn where you get some additional benefits. But unless you're in a particular job search season or you're needing to reach out to a lot of people via LinkedIn in mail, the free version works just fine. So there's no reason to pay for the paid version. So, one of the ways that you can create a strong profile is making sure that you have a professional, clear, and recent headshot. That's really important. Now, we offer free headshots in the Career Center during the fall and spring. I'm not sure that we have current headshot sessions scheduled. However, you can use your cell phone on a tripod or on a timer and a neutral background. Just go up against a neutral wall or a brick wall and just take a selfie with you dressed in professional gear until you have a chance to get to the Career Center or to one of the places where we pop up to do headshots. We pop up all over campus in the fall and in the spring. And then you can use LinkedIn profile picture frames like open to work or open to volunteering that can help employers quickly identify what you're looking for. And then you can add a banner, which is the background behind the picture. I strongly recommend that you select a banner that reflects either the work that you're hoping to pursue or that you're at Clemson University. There are lots of stock photos available. Say you're an engineering student, maybe you want to take a picture of Freeman Hall. Or if you're working in computer science or AI, maybe you want to take a picture of the Watt Innovation Center. Or you could get a picture of Old Main if you're in the College of Business, of the business school. So just having a nice banner lets people recognize very quickly that you're a Clemson University student. And then you can personalize your URL and then add it to your resume and email signature line. That's a really polished and professional way to make your resume look really nice. In LinkedIn, towards the end, I will, Judah, help me remember, I'll pull up LinkedIn and show people where they can go to customize their URL. And your URL is just LinkedIn / and then your name. But often when you first sign up for LinkedIn, it has a whole bunch of numbers behind it. You can get rid of the numbers and just have your name. And then you want your headline to be concise and descriptive. So highlight your current role or what you're studying and your career aspirations. A short statement that can appear in search results. If you know you want to go into a particular field, use terms that are often used in that field. And then just use your headline as a way to show what makes you unique. So one of the ways that you can have a compelling summary, it can be really impactful if it's written well. You don't want it to be terribly long or wordy. Make it like your elevator pitch. So only the first 166 characters show in the profile when somebody's just doing a quick glance of your LinkedIn profile. And so make sure that those first 166 characters really count. You want to be confident, promote your key skills, experience, and goals. And you want it to be professional, engaging, and even you can choose an aspirational tone.
To showcase your experience on your LinkedIn profile, you want to use some relevant keywords. And we learned about those when we learned about your resume, but your keywords come from your job description and job. And yeah, and then you want action verbs, quantifiers to show impact, visuals and media, and then links to projects. And you really want to make sure these links are accessible or go to a PDF as well. So make sure you're checking those links. Some examples of showcasing your experience would be internships. So you can post about your internships. You can also put it in the experience section. Jobs, same exact thing. You can post it or put it in the section. We'll definitely put it in the section. Volunteer experience, organizations that you are a part of. That could be inside of school or outside as well. And then finally, and then projects that you're working on. Again, if you're working with like an external research facility or something like that on a project, that can also count as well, or something that you've done for your job. So really brainstorming different ways you can showcase and articulate your different experiences is pretty important. And then finally, you can showcase your leadership roles. Make sure that you are highlighting your position that you're at and like exactly what you're doing so you can kind of show how much how much you're being a leader. Then we have highlighting your education. So for the education section, we want to indicate college degree, minors, emphasis, or your concentration, just like on your resume. And then you could do your specific classes, academic projects, certifications, as well as your GPA, if you think it could benefit you to be on there. You could also put your professional development experiences, such as if you're part of the professional development certificate with us. Also, any conferences that you go to. And then finally, your honors and awards all could be put on there as well. I really encourage putting everything that you have on there. There's really no harm. It's not like your resume. You want to give a full snapshot. Then you want to showcase your skills in your endorsements by developing and adding skills that are relevant to your career. So you can add at least 5 skills. There's a skills section. And then actually under each experience, you are able to articulate what your specific skills are to that experience and link the skills to your different job positions as well. And then you can also endorse others to build reciprocal relationships. So that this is going to mean reposting other people's posts, commenting, things like that, really showcasing that hey, you're there, you're part of it as well. And then finally, requesting that your connections endorse your skills back. Again, that reciprocal relationship, if you're doing it for them, ultimately, they're hopefully going to be doing it to you back. But also keeping it in your daily language at work. You could do as well, just in conversation, like, hey, I'm going to post this on my LinkedIn. Making it known can help your coworkers go and support you as well. All right, and then requesting and giving recommendations. I know it can be kind of anxiety or anxious to ask for a recommendation, but they're really important. So recommendations add credibility to your work and showcase who you are and ultimately your brand. And then make sure you are giving recommendations to others. This is like the golden rule. You want to make sure you are giving it to other people because that's how you're going to get it back. That's also going to help you build your network. And then requesting a recommendation, make sure to be specific and courteous. So that means making sure to specify what opportunity you are asking a recommendation for, what the judge or whoever is taking the recommendations, what they're looking for. So kind of giving as much context as possible to your person that you're requesting it from can really help them. And then also set a goal of at least 3 recommendations from people who know your work and are enthusiastic to write one. So you can ask your supervisors, professors, coworkers. I really encourage having a variety of recommendations as well. So maybe not all professors, maybe not all coworkers or something like that, because you really want to show your different skills, not emphasizing the exact same skills. You want to try to get as many articulated as possible.
Recommendations are really strong evidence of the good work that you do, but they're also strong evidence of the relationships that you build. And so anytime, say you're doing a UPIC internship, like many of the people on the call today are, if your UPIC mentor says you did a really great job on this project, that would be a great time to say, thank you so much. Would you be willing to write a short recommendation for me? That will help me as I continue in my career. So asking for timely recommendations can be really helpful as well. And I know as a UPIC mentor, also as someone who has supervised many people who are early in their careers, I'm always happy to give recommendations when that person has a good relationship with me and when I've had an opportunity to really see and evaluate their work. So don't be shy about asking people for recommendations. We're really glad to do it. But also think about your timing. Don't do it when people are in the middle of midterms or exams. You know, professors have a lot coming at them. And so you might have to ask several times, or you might have to ask a TA or an advisor as well. So when you're thinking about projects that you've worked on, LinkedIn can be a really great place to showcase and highlight those projects. And those projects can be things associated with your education, work, or internship, but they could even be things that are associated with volunteerism. So if you say volunteered with Meals on Wheels because your fraternity or sorority offered that as an opportunity for you to get your hours in, but then you saw something there that you knew you could improve and you helped improve something, that would be a great project to link. You want to use bullet points for impact. So avoid using long areas of narration. Most people are just going to skim things these days anyway. And so make sure that you're using bullet points that are clearly articulating what your project and experience is. And then projects are just tangible proof of the experience that you're listing on your resumes. And so it's a great way for you to stand out. And then, of course, you can upload that information or a link to the actual project. And as Ava said earlier, you want to make sure that those links are accessible and that they work well. So once you've added that link to your LinkedIn profile, make sure you click on it, double check, make sure it's going to the right place and that somebody's not getting an Internet 404 error. So when you're thinking about engaging with LinkedIn content, you can do things like sharing articles, updates, or achievements. A lot of our interns will share a semester summary, and that's a great opportunity for you to reflect back on all that you've accomplished and learned. But employers really like seeing that information. It's a great place for you to showcase what you're learning and those core competencies that you've developed. And then you can also engage with posts through likes, comments, and shares. That really helps other people who are posting on LinkedIn. That helps their information get out there. That helps recruiters find them when they're searching. You don't have to spend a ton of time doing this. Just 5 minutes a day can really help you develop that community, that online community, but also help promote others who are in the community as well. And then you can join relevant LinkedIn groups and participate in discussions, particularly if there are professional organizations associated with the employment that you hope to get after college. I would search for those groups on LinkedIn, join those, and read what's posted so then you can stay up to date on the information that's out there. And when you get asked an interview question like, tell me something you've learned recently in the field of forestry management, you'll know because you've been in the LinkedIn group reading about forestry management while you were at Clemson. And then you can follow companies of interest, companies that you really have targeted that you're interested in working at. Follow them, see what kind of content they're posting. So, again, when you're in an interview and they can say, what do you know about our company? You could say, well, I follow you on LinkedIn and I noticed you posted X article about Y topic. And that was really interesting because, and then you've got a great interview answer.
Building your network. Who is in your network? So your peers and your classmates, your professors, your friends or your coworkers, your supervisors, your friends and family, and Clemson alumni are all in your network. So really just brainstorming everyone around you. Everyone could be in your network, any of your relationships, even people from high school. So making sure you're keeping those connections, and if you see them in the who you know on LinkedIn, making sure you're connecting with those people, even if they are from high school, because those people remember you and that you want to keep that network. And then remember to personalize your connection request. So this means you could add a note. I know you can only add a couple notes on the free version, so making sure you are utilizing those how you should. Again, if you have LinkedIn Premium, though, don't need to worry about that. Connect with professionals. That means people you don't know from organizations and businesses, and kind of reaching out that way as well. And then maintaining these relationships. That means in real life, and that also means online as well. And then LinkedIn for the job search. So we use LinkedIn to set up job alerts and apply through LinkedIn. You could do this through the job tab whenever you go to search. There's like a little toggle button you can turn on to set up alerts. And then you can follow companies of interest. So any companies that you think, oh, I could like to work with them in any capacity, making sure you're following them and connecting with them so professionals can see that as well. You can also research opportunities. And finally, you can consider reaching out to recruiters as well. So some do's and don'ts of LinkedIn. So some do's of LinkedIn, make sure you're updating your profile regularly. Of course, you want to stay relevant. You want to make sure people know who you are, what you're doing. You want to make sure it's accurate as well. And then using professional language, practicing professional etiquette, and then staying active and consistent.
And don't forget to update your profile when you complete your internships over the summer or in the fall and spring. It's really important to keep that up to date.
Yes. And then incomplete profiles, you don't want to do. You don't want to have overly casual language, and you don't want to ignore privacy settings as well. All right, so finally, our drop-ins at the Cooper Library. We have those 2 to 4 Monday, Thursdays during the summer. We're going to have them probably Monday through Friday at the Cooper Library during the actual school year. There you can go to ask us a quick question, 10 to 15 minutes, and we can help you on resume, cover letter, internships, really anything else. This is also your first step in the door at the Career Center. We can kind of direct you where to go from there. And then you can also book appointments online for 30 to 60 minutes. You have to schedule ahead. We can do multiple topics in here. It's a great way to kind of get more involved with the Career Center and figuring out what you need to do to get a job. So I really recommend. And then we have those Monday, Tuesday, and Thursdays, 10 to 12, and Monday and Wednesdays, 1:30 to 2:30.
And then during the fall, appointments are available Monday through Friday in the morning and the afternoon. So it's a great way to connect with us. So if you didn't have a chance to scan the QR code and enter your Clemson email address, now's your chance to do that. So I'll give you just a second. And then we just want to open up the floor in case anybody has any questions. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat and Judah will share them with us. I also just want to say thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Ava, for co-hosting. Thank you, Judah, for running the chat and letting people in. Thank you to everybody who's joined us today. We really appreciate you taking the time, and we're glad you're investing in your future here in the summer. So I'll give it just a minute to see if we have any questions.
So far, no questions.
Okay, thanks, Judah. You also can stick around if you're not comfortable asking your questions while everybody else is here. As other people are leaving, you're welcome to stick around. You can take yourself off mute if you don't want to have to type it, or you can turn your camera on and just let us know or raise your hand. But again, we just want to thank you for being here and remind you that we'll be back next weekend. And remind me, Ava, what's our topic next weekend? Next Tuesday?
Introducing life design.
That's right. So this is going to be a really fun, it's a more creative topic. It'll be a lot of fun. And again, it's just an introduction, but you'll have an opportunity to engage with us more about it. So thank you all for coming today. All right, so I'm going to do just a quick tutorial, as promised earlier in the presentation, in how to update your LinkedIn URL. So when you come to the main page of LinkedIn, you're just going to click on your name, and then you're going to see all these pencils come up. So where it says public profile and URL, you just click on the pencil. And then you're going to click on the pencil again. Now you're going to see mine is already updated. It just says Maggie Erickson. So normally when you first sign up for LinkedIn, it will be your first and last name with a whole bunch of numbers and potentially even some characters after it. So you just click on the pencil. You can't change the beginning part of the URL because that just routes everyone to LinkedIn. But this is where you click inside the box and then you'll just right arrow over to the very end. So say there were a whole bunch of numbers, which is what most people's look like. You would right arrow over to the end and just hit backspace. And then click on save. Now mine's already correct, so I'm not going to click save. If you click on save and it says that name is already taken, you could consider adding a middle initial. So like my middle initial is L, you could add an L. You could add a dash, L dash. You could add maybe the year that you're graduating or your alma mater. You could put Maggie Erickson Clemson if you wanted to. But you could play around with it and find something that works. When you hit on something that isn't already taken and you hit save, then you're good. All right. Well, that's all we have for today. Thank you all again so much for joining us. Thanks, Judah and Ava. Does that answer everybody's questions? Can you all do you see where to go for the editing your custom URL? Okay, perfect. Thanks, everybody. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week.